Predators are known for their hunts, but we should actually praise them for the honor code that they bring into their hunts, which stops them from killing anyone who isn't worthy. Now, this unworthiness ranges from being unarmed to pregnant or a child. There's a lot of reasons a predator won't kill a person. The Predator Society respects the code and lives by it, almost as if it's their religion or even something more, their very way of life. However, sometimes, some predators ditch this code to walk a path that rips them of the right of being called an honorable hunter. Such predators, also called the bad blood predators, are then condemned and held as a disgrace, so much so that senior enforcer predators are sent to kill the bad bloods. Yet, some of the bad bloods have proven too strong even for the enforcers, and in this video, we'll explore the 10 most dangerous bad-blooded Yautja who turned against their own kind. But before I begin, please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons. Those 2 small clicks from you will help us tremendously in bringing you more of these marvelous videos in the future. The Bad Blood Predator. The Bad Blood Predator was one of the first predators who lost their shit beyond redemption. So this guy started killing his own kind, more specifically 6 of them, and that alone made him public enemy number 1 in Yautja circles. Naturally, the Yautja elders decided that enforcers needed to be sent out to eliminate the disgrace. The chase led them to Earth and they landed in the wilderness of New Jersey. That's where the Bad Blood began his rampage. He first surfaced near a paintball range and tore through the staff before killing the park manager Chris and 2 dogs, and of course, he strapped Chris's head to his belt as a trophy. However, the whole thing was witnessed by John Polnick, the range's owner and ex-CIA, and had it not been for 2 unlucky cops, Polnick would have also ended up on the Bad Blood Predator's belt. The Bad Blood tore through Loudermilk's CIA units next, stacking up bodies as he moved closer to his ship. Polnick returned with some old Black Ops friends and a local sheriff hoping to stop him, but the Predator wasn't alone anymore. An enforcer finally caught up with the Bad Blood and engaged with him while he was still on his rampage. They fought until one of Loudermilk's men shot the enforcer, giving the Bad Blood a chance to finish him, but that didn't happen because Polnick intervened and gave the enforcer just enough time to escape. And as for the Bad Blood, he disappeared into the woods again but didn't stop his rampage. He next went for and decapitated Deputy Kelso before wiping out a group of hunters whose bodies he also consumed, which tells us of one of the rare instances where a predator consumed human flesh. The enforcer eventually found the Bad Blood once more, and this time, the Bad Blood managed to rip off the enforcer's spiked helmet and stab him with it, killing him. He looted the gauntlet, summoned the enforcer's mothership, and even downed a CIA chopper with a stolen spear before heading to the drop pod. Loudermilk and his remaining troops also arrived at the ship to stop it, but all they managed to do was get killed, or rather slaughtered. Polnick's crew came in next. 2 of them died fast. Mandy lost a hand. Polnick landed some shots but was overwhelmed. He used Kelso's head as a last-ditch distraction before the Predator tore him apart. That distraction worked. Mandy shot the Bad Blood dead and ended it. This Predator had gone completely off-code as he even ate humans. In fact, the Bad Blood is considered to be one of the deadliest predators known to humans because he killed around 50 humans, 6 predators, and 1 enforcer. The Devil. In New York's underbelly, 2 gang leaders named Lamb and Carr meet to settle their turf issues. They came to settle their issues all right, but none of them walked out as they came in because they met the Devil that night. This predator, known as the Devil, wreaked havoc and left Carr barely clinging to life. Detective John Schaefer, brother of the legendary Dutch Schaefer, ignored his orders and decided to get to the bottom of things. He came face to face with the Devil, only to get slapped with a tracking device and thrown out of a window for his trouble. But before that, he managed to yank off the Predator's mask, which would become something that would come back to haunt him. John ended up in a hospital after his duel with the Devil, but he knew what he had to do, so he traveled to South America, chasing whispers of similar attacks that were linked to his brother's disappearance. It didn't take long before the Devil found him again. Next thing we know, they're fighting, with a firefight here and a melee there, but the Predator always had the upper hand. What the Predator didn't know was that he was dealing with a Schaefer, and well, those guys just don't give up. So, John managed to blind him with a salt shaker and then threw him off a cliff, impaling him far below. For a moment, it looked like it was over and John had won, but predators are resilient foes. The Devil survived and wandered the jungles, and he was now all alone and getting increasingly deranged after being abandoned by his kind. Worst of all, locals started to worship him, but then came the several massacres. He slaughtered a camera crew for sport, killed US soldiers sent to stop him, and abandoned his code forever to resort to hunting just about everything. John returned again, but this time around, he was actually tricked and then forced into the hunt by a man known only as El Presidente. John was sent along with Mercer and Lopez, while the former was a lying agent and the latter was little more than a traumatized soldier. The Devil ambushed them on a tugboat, but John survived the attack only because of Lopez, who fired a flare into the Devil's face. However, Mercer was taken by the natives. Schaefer and Lopez escaped down a waterfall, though Schaefer was poisoned and passed out, only to wake up to the weirdest of sights. He saw that the Devil had tied up a bull and a jaguar and mimicked their cries as they slowly died. Nevertheless, John and Lopez managed to injure the Predator and fix him with a tracker. As they fled, El Presidente's fighter jet tracked the signal and fired a missile, finally ending the nightmare. Deck! Predator Badlands is set to do something novel by changing the protagonist from the prey to the predator itself, and in this case, it's a young Yautja named Deck, played by Demetrius Schuster Kolomatangi. Deck isn't a seasoned hunter or even an adult, he's a youngling, and that's why you find him slimmer, expressive, and clearly less experienced and slightly more humanoid than the rest of the predators we've seen up until now in live-action movies. According to the filmmaker, he looks more human by design, and it makes him easier to connect with. The story opens after Deck is exiled from his clan, likely due to something dishonorable that he did in the past. Details are vague, but if we're to believe the trailers, it seems like he's undergone a violent fallout with a possible father figure who punishes another predator, maybe Deck's brother. Whatever the case, Deck ends up on Kalisk, a savage planet run by the elements. The Badlands are no joke. Kalisk throws everything it has at him. We're talking heat, toxic plants, alien beasts, and a landscape that constantly tries to kill anything breathing. Deck survives by adapting. He salvages gear like an energy blade, a spear, some orbs that might be cloaking tech, and builds his own arsenal from scraps. His kit is lighter than the usual Yautja arsenal, and the reason seems to be the rough terrain, meaning he wants to travel light. But Kalisk isn't just about Deck. The planet also has Weyland-Yutani boots on the ground, including Thea, an android played by Elle Fanning. Her synthetic eyes flash the Weyland-Yutani logo, which links Predator Badlands to the larger alien universe. While her motives don't match the corporation's, she and Deck end up working together. It's the kind of bond that echoes Lex and Scar's partnership in Alien vs. Predator, or Machiko and Broken Tusk from the comics. Deck's real challenge isn't just humans. Kalisk has massive and deadly aliens, some of them the size of kaijus. One jumps Deck in the jungle, another has tentacles that try to tear him apart, and if our young Yautja wants to survive, he needs to learn fast and think smart and use every tool he can find to the best of his abilities. These fights push him closer to earning back the honor his clan stripped away. Stoneheart! Stoneheart served as an enforcer and pack leader of the Dark Blade clan. He was known for his huge size and the deadliness he brought in close-quarter combat. We're saying this because, unlike many other Yautja, this guy refused to use ranged weapons and depended on hand-mounted daggers. You see, he preferred to break his enemies with sheer, brutal force. His name came from the way he handled his prey, including a rival Yautja who once accused him of cheating, claiming Stoneheart had altered his body through genetic means to reach a monstrous size. During a hunt in Neonopolis sometime before 2030, Stoneheart and his clan brothers Longspear and Swift Knife entered the city looking for worthy opponents. Instead, they ran into Hunter Borgia and his elite human unit, the Monster Squad. Outnumbered and ambushed, the three Yautja were captured and taken to Borgia Industries. There, they were tortured, fitted with cybernetics, and stripped of their higher brain functions. Stoneheart, once a respected warrior, became the leader of a trio of mindless weaponized brutes kept in stasis. By 2030, another predator named Scarface was captured and brought into the labs. He escaped, freed several Yautja, and triggered chaos in the facility. Lucretia Borgia, daughter of Hunter Borgia, released the cyborg predators. Scarface encountered them while disabling weather machines that blocked his cloaking tech. Swift Knife died in that fight. Longspear followed soon after. Stoneheart survived and fled when Scarface nearly finished him. Their final confrontation happened later near the chambers of Mother, the central AI. Stoneheart stood in Scarface's path inside a simulated church environment. The two dueled one last time. Scarface overpowered him and tore the skull from Stoneheart's body. It was brutal but clean, an honorable end for a warrior who had been twisted into something else. Scarface moved on, leaving behind the wreckage of what Stoneheart had become. Killer Yaoucha. The Killers were a rogue Yautja clan rejected by the rest of the hunters for one reason. They didn't care about the hunt. Where most Yautja followed strict codes and treated the hunt as a test of skill and honor, the Killers turned it into slaughter. In other words, they hunted nothing but killed everything. That kind of behavior didn't sit well with the larger Yautja society. A war broke out between the two groups, and for a while, the general belief was that the Killers had been wiped out. Their name faded into history and they were reduced to a rumor, but the Killers didn't die. They had only disappeared in deep space, but took their weapons with them and started hitting human colonies. They didn't rely on brute strength, they used xenomorphs as hunting dogs, so much so that xenos were often kept on leashes and used like tools. In one colony, they released the xenomorphs and let the chaos spread. Before they wiped the place out, the military recorded some of the carnage. That footage reached Macho Nguchi, who had history with the Yautja, and she confirmed the existence of the Killers. Next, she passed the evidence to the Marines. Speaking of Nguchi, we have explored her entire life story in one of our videos, and we think you might like it. She was also the first ever female human Yautja, meaning she was accepted by a clan of Yautja. Moving on, a small killer unit appeared in East Africa during a skirmish involving Graham Directive security. The Killers tore through most of the unit. Only a few survived, saved by an airlift. The reason behind the attack remained unclear, but the intent was simple: total elimination. By the 22nd century, the Killers had escalated their atrocities and their raids became more frequent. Macho joined forces with the colonial marines to stop them. Together, they launched a full-scale campaign against the rogue Yautja. The Killers didn't wear the usual segmented armor, and their armor looked heavier and more complete. Black and dark gray, sometimes with red streaks. Their biomasks had sharp edges, flared crowns, and removable faceplates. They carried tech unseen in hunter clans. Their jammers cut off communications and disabled anything digital, locking their enemies into silence. Renegade Predator, or Young Turk Predator, from Gotham City. After Batman defeated the see-through slasher, the Predator's clan recognized him as a worthy opponent and promised never to hunt in Gotham again. That should have been the end of it, but one young Yautja didn't care for promises. Known only as the Young Turk, this hunter disobeyed the code and came to Gotham to collect Batman's head. Needless to say, it wasn't about honor, it was about obsession. The Turk killed a mercenary sniper named Marks and moved straight to the GCPD. He attacked Commissioner Gordon, tore through several officers, and even took away the bat signal. That's a surprisingly smart move for a rogue Yautja. While Huntress trailed two criminals near a pool hall, the Turk mistook her for Batman and knocked her out. When the gangsters opened fire, he broke through the skylight and finished them both off. Later, from Gotham's Palisades, he activated the bat signal himself, baiting Batman to come to him, which is why we said earlier that stealing it was so smart. Batman answered and found 7 severed heads hanging from a tree. The Turk ambushed him in one. He strung Batman up, but Huntress arrived just in time to rescue him. Before they could regroup, Twitch, a bomb maker, detonated C4 inside the Batmobile. The duo survived, but the Turk appeared, killing Twitch and claiming his head. While regrouping, he noticed a Predator ship flying overhead and understood that the enforcers had arrived to clean up the mess. However, the young Turk didn't run. He found one of them and killed him, taking his head too, which we gotta point out is pretty rare for Predators because enforcers are supposed to be the best of the best. Later, while Batman and Huntress confronted mob boss Manny Toraro, the Turk burst in and impaled Toraro with a combi stick. After retreating, the police used the bat signal again to draw him out. Batman activated a scrambler, accidentally decloaking another enforcer. The Turk reappeared, killed 2 elite officers, and kidnapped Lieutenant Frank Stalker, dragging him to his ship. Batman and Huntress followed. Inside the vessel, Stalker warned them that they were bait. The Turk ambushed them. A fight broke out and the Predator gained the upper hand. Just before killing Huntress, Stalker intervened and stabbed him with his own combi stick. The Turk killed him, but the damage forced him into the ship's controls. To escape, he opened the hatch and dumped Batman and Huntress mid-flight. As he tried to flee, the Enforcer's ship returned and in one last-ditch effort, they fired a massive energy blast, destroying both ships and ending the Turk's rampage for good. Machiko Nguchi. Machiko Nguchi, once a corporate administrator for Chigusa Corporation on Ryushi, earned herself the name Daturi, which translates in English to small knife. She survived an attack on her colony led by a group of Yautjas and xenomorphs. That attack wiped out the settlement, but she lived, gaining the respect of a Yautja called Broken Tusk, and was blooded into the clan. She later joined a group led by Topknot, but struggled to adjust to their culture. I mean, she was a human after all, and these were predators. When she learned that they had begun hunting humans on Bunda, she abandoned them and sided with humanity. Years later, she settled on Bellatrix II and ran a safari business. That quiet life ended when Livermore Evanston offered her a return to the hunt. Around the same time, the Colonial Marines approached her for help. A group of rogue Yautja, known as the Killers, had attacked a mining colony. I already spoke about this part earlier, so we won't get into the details, but Machiko agreed to help the Marines, but didn't shy away from warning them about the threat that they were about to face and how they weren't really ready for what they were walking into. They returned to Ryushi, the planet where it all started for her, so she could negotiate with her old clan. To assert her position and to ensure that they heard what she had to say, Machiko also killed one of them in single combat. She and Rast were then taken aboard the Predator ship, but the clan had no idea she had once betrayed Topknot, although for the right reasons. After helping them capture a xenomorph queen, the hunters agreed to fight alongside the Marines against the Killers. Weeks later, both fleets closed in on Caparis 7, where a skirmish forced the Killers to escape the planet in a massive ship. However, the good guys had already placed a tracker on it. During the 3-week pursuit, Machiko bonded with Ellis and the Marines, but she couldn't ignore the fact that she was caught between two identities. When they reached the Killers' base, the Marines released the queen they had captured and turned the xenomorphs against the Killers. As the conflict spiraled, the hunter captain removed Machiko's Yaoucha mark using acid blood, cutting her loose. She escaped with Ellis, leaving the clan behind for good. But as far as predators were concerned, she was named a bad blood, someone who had betrayed her own. Fugitive Predator. The Fugitive Predator, also called the Rogue, was a Yautja-human hybrid who defected from his kind with a mission that was supposed to bring an end to the Yautja race itself. Unlike others who hunted for sport or status, Fugitive came to Earth in 2018 with a device called the Predator Killer, a weapon he intended to hand over to humanity. The reason was to help humans survive a coming invasion. Before he could complete this task, though, he was captured. Furthermore, sniper Quinn McKenna sent the fugitive's mask to his home, only for it to be received by his autistic son. Held in a lab for study, Fugitive broke free and cut through Project Stargazer's security. Armed or unarmed, he made quick work of the guards. He bit into a scientist's arm, impaled another with retractable bone spurs from his forearms, and tore others apart with his claws. One agent spoke a password during the firefight, and Fugitive memorized and mimicked the phrase, using the man's severed hand to open a secured door. He even spoke clear English without a helmet, which was unusual. Normally, only the biohelmets allow full speech mimicry. Despite his ruthlessness in combat, Fugitive wasn't mindless. He spared Dr. Casey Brackett when she was unarmed and vulnerable, showing that he still followed the honor code in some form. He also displayed some knowledge of human behavior, tricking a truck driver with a fake thumbs up using a severed arm to hitch a ride. While he killed several humans, his goal remained centered around protecting his ship and its contents. Eventually, the Fugitive crossed paths with the Upgrade Predator, a larger, stronger opponent bred from genetic splicing. Fugitive stood his ground but was outmatched. The fight ended with his death. Two Stripes. Two Stripes wasn't exactly what you would call a patient hunter. A member of Topknot's clan, he arrived on an alien world with 9 other unblooded hopefuls, each eager to earn their mark and step into the ranks of the blooded Yautja. Their guide was Topknot himself. 2 days passed without a sign of xenomorphs, and Two Stripes, who clearly lacked the calm required for tracking, began to doubt the entire operation. He started mumbling that Topknot had lost the scent. Then came the break. One of the others, Lightstepper, found a corpse deep in the foliage, clear signs of a chestburster. The group gathered, and instead of acknowledging the find, Two Stripes shoved Lightstepper over and claimed credit right in front of Topknot. Rather than settle the dispute with a fight, Topknot gave the credit to Two Stripes. Whether he saw through the lie or not remains unknown, but Lightstepper wasn't thrilled. That moment set off a rivalry between the two. The group split off to chase their own trophies. Two Stripes decided to tail Lightstepper from a distance, probably hoping to see him fail, and fail he did. Lightstepper was ambushed by a Xeno drone, and though he managed to bring the beast down, it cost him his right hand. That's when Two Stripes made his move. Instead of helping or finishing off the Xeno himself, he crept in, stole the trophy, and left Lightstepper bleeding out in the jungle. To sell the lie, Two Stripes dragged the Xeno's claws across his own body, burnt himself with its acid blood, and stumbled back to Topknot like a battered hero. He told his story. It might have worked too if not for the other two hunters who had found Lightstepper barely alive and brought him back. The truth came out fast, and Two Stripes was stripped of his gear, weapons, and armor. No trial, no defense, just punishment. He was left on the planet, alone, unarmed, and surrounded by the very creatures he had tried to cheat his way into defeating. The last anyone saw of him, he was cornered by xenomorphs, scrambling for an escape that wasn't coming. Four-Armed Predator. The Four-Armed Predator was a hulking mutant dropped onto the game preserve planet following the events of Predators. Unlike the usual Yautja, this one came with an extra set of arms, 4 in total, and legs that bent differently from the others. No one's quite sure whether it was born this way or if someone decided to play God with Yautja biology. Either way, it wasn't there for sport. It was there to end Royce. Royce and Isabel had survived the preserve longer than expected. Royce had even taken down Berserker in hand-to-hand combat, which seemed to earn him a twisted kind of respect. The Yautja, observing from afar, marked him, maybe even honored him, by giving him modified armor and sending a new challenger. That challenger was the Four-Armed Predator. It didn't wait, no stalking, no games. It dropped and charged. Royce tried to fight it, but the thing was too strong, too fast. He held it off long enough to call out to Isabel, telling her to prepare her rifle. While he kept the beast busy, Isabel took her shot. A few clean hits later, and the four-armed brute fell. Whatever it was, mutation, mistake, or masterpiece, it didn't live long enough to find out. Unfortunately, that's the end of our list for today, but we're excited to see you guys in the next one. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Otherwise, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.